Welcome to the Data Room, where we share best practices and actionable tips on being a data-driven company, or as we call it, data first. If you're a B2B revenue leader looking to scale your growth stage business, come and join experienced CEO and tech founder Scott Stouffer in the Data Room. Hey everyone, welcome to the Data Room. I'm here with another episode with scaleMatters CEO and co-founder Scott Stouffer. And if you're in the B2B startup world, you've no doubt seen a rise in the popularity of the revenue operations role. This function is playing a very key central role in almost every high growth startup today. And if you listen to a couple of our other episodes, we've definitely touched on the benefits of RevOps for companies that are in that early and growth stage mode in previous episodes. But is there ever a point when it's too early to invest in RevOps? And that's what I brought in Scott here to discuss and jump in on this conversation. So Scott, how do you know if you're too early to invest in RevOps?
Well, so for early and growth stage companies, there are really two primary benefits of RevOps. The first of which is tactical, but it's important, and that is to properly implement and maintain the go-to-market tech stack so that many of the activities that the sales and marketing folks need to do can actually be automated or at least made more efficient. This would include things like the CRM, a marketing automation platform, maybe a sales acceleration tool, and so on. The second benefit of RevOps is to build a go-to-market data infrastructure that surfaces data and the insights the revenue leaders need in order to rapidly optimize the go-to-market motion, if you will. Typically, very early stage companies are focused on finding product market fit and associated message fit. And at this point, it would probably be counterproductive to try to invest in building a repeatable, scalable, predictable go-to-market engine, because without reasonable product market fit and message fit, nothing else really matters. It just becomes this kind of a constant friction that exists. So I would say for companies that are still working through product market message fit issues, investments in RevOps is probably a bit premature. Now, with that said, investments that help you arrive at product market message fit more quickly would be definitely worthwhile. So for example, if your sale involves speaking with prospects, so it's got some kind of sales motion to it, you should definitely invest in a conversation intelligence tool to record those conversations so that you can go back and extract useful insights from them. Or similarly, if your motion is more of a product-led growth motion, then you should think about investing R&D dollars to put meaningful instrumentation in your platform so that you can derive feedback and insights from that actually help inform actions to improve conversion and adoption. So I don't know if there's any hard and fast rule, but I'd say generally, if you haven't gotten to about $1 million in annualized revenue, you probably still have a fair amount of work to do around product market fit. And it would feel to me like an investment in RevOps might likely be premature in that case.
Okay. That's a fair point. You want to make sure that you have that product market fit first before you start to build something repeatable, or else you're really kind of just reinventing the wheel over and over again. Here's a similar question, and I'm wondering if your answer will actually change based on this question. So you've been a CEO in the past for a few companies. Are there any indicators that, now's the time to invest in RevOps? So let's say you kind of get close to that 1 million in annualized revenue. Are there any things that you'll find frustrating or limiting that are happening that you're like, okay, now I need to think about investing in RevOps?
Yeah, so if you think about it, most of the tools in the go-to-market tech stack were originally envisioned as ways to automate a lot of the activities that are done by sales and marketing teams. It's only recently, but certainly increasingly, that the GTM, the go-to-market tech stack, has also been looked at as a source of valuable data to inform leadership teams. So the telltale sign as a CEO that you need to invest in RevOps or a RevOps function is when you've actually invested in a tech stack but yet your sales and marketing leaders can't quickly answer even some of the most basic questions you might have about go-to-market effectiveness. I personally experienced this firsthand about 10 years ago. I took over as a CEO at what was then about a $5 million ARR SaaS company. And they had invested a fair amount of money in HubSpot as the marketing automation platform and Salesforce as a CRM. And as I was trying to kind of quickly understand what was and what was not working from a go-to-market perspective, I started asking a lot of questions of the sales and marketing leaders. And it just seemed to take a really long time for them to produce answers. And then with the answers I'd got, I'd say probably at least half of them didn't really make any sense. And that's because the data in the CRM had sort of devolved to where it was a complete mess. So they were trying to pull answers to my questions out of the CRM. And they gave me answers, but it was complete garbage. It didn't make any sense. So that's when I kind of first realized that, expecting the sales and marketing leaders to be the people that implement and maintain the tech tools was really too big of an ask. I mean, they're experts at sales or they're experts at marketing, but they're amateurs when it comes to technology and data analytics and all this go-to-market tech stack stuff. It's very sophisticated and it's complex, and this is what we see at actually nearly all seed stage companies, and certainly the majority of Series A stage companies. They've invested in the tools first, and then they put the burden on the sales and marketing leaders to actually implement those tools, and it's never done in an optimized fashion. And as a result, the promise of the tools is never realized, and worse, people make bad decisions off of bad data that's stuck in the tools. So kind of since that experience that I had, my philosophy has been that I still don't think you need to invest too early, but my philosophy is start with an experienced RevOps leader or a RevOps partner before you start investing in the tools, rather than the other way around, which is normally, companies buy tools first, and it's not until they've made a mess of them that they start thinking about, the RevOps function. And I really think that should be reversed if you want to get this right.
Yeah, it's kind of easy to fall for the thing in the shiny box, right? And then implement all these tools and then realize later, like, oh, I'm not quite sure what we've invested in. So that's actually really good advice, that don't necessarily have to rely on your sales and marketing leaders to be tech stack administrators as well, which certainly we can all have certain skill sets in that, but they shouldn't be the ones responsible for that. I also want to kind of harp on that, talking about sales and marketing leaders. You mentioned in the past that there's damage that can be done at early stage companies when the sales and marketing leaders have to handle a lot of things, right? They have to select the tool, they have to implement it, they have to manage everything in the tech stack. So anything from Salesforce to HubSpot, Marketo, SalesLoft, Gong, all of these different tools. And they're managing not only the tech stack, but also the data capture and the reporting. It becomes almost like a shared responsibility among the sales and marketing team. And to me, that seems a clear indicator that a company is pretty ready for RevOps. Do you agree with that? And if so, is there kind of a root cause issue and maybe why it's a problem?
Yeah. So in addition to everything you just said, if they're responsible for the tech stack, by the way, the sales leader is also supposed to build out a sales team,
right,
and decide on a selling process and a sales playbook that makes sense. The marketing leader is supposed to determine what marketing campaigns and strategies are most likely to source people from your ideal customer profile and make that happen, right? They're supposed to do their real jobs too, I guess, in other words. So I tend to see probably 4 very specific problems that happen when the sales and marketing leaders are the ones that are actually responsible for the tech stack, or at least responsible for the portions of the tech stack that correspond to their function. First is what I'd call siloed tech stack syndrome. So when the sales and marketing leaders are responsible for the tools, they are rarely integrated in a way that adds value end to end across the entire lead to deal process. The data doesn't sync properly across systems, so data points that should show the same thing don't. And this is why you see so many companies where the sales and marketing leaders don't even agree on basic stuff like, how many leads are being generated. This siloed tech stack syndrome basically takes whatever sales and marketing misalignment might already exist and just drives a wedge in and even makes it worse. So the first problem is that the tools get implemented as silos rather than a greater sum way of thinking. So you don't get the value of the full end-to-end benefit. The other problems that I see, when sales and marketing leaders are effectively the tech stack administrators, all relate to the value of the tech stack as a go-to-market data infrastructure. And as I've mentioned before, when RevOps is done right, the go-to-market tech stack really becomes a strategic asset for the business. It provides the senior revenue leaders with the data and insights they need to manage with science-like precision. Unfortunately, when the sales and marketing leaders are the tech stack administrators, it never pans out that way. First of all, they never implement a conscious data model that's really sufficient to produce the necessary insights. Think of the data model as how the environment gets instrumented with sensors so that stuff is being measured at a granular enough level. The sales and marketing leaders aren't really skilled as data modelers, so they don't know how to properly design this data model, nor are they necessarily super skilled at the tech stack component. So they don't necessarily know how to figure out how to implement all the necessary instrumentation. So that's the first thing is you just don't get a good data model put in place. Secondly, they're not data operations people. So typically, they haven't implemented mechanisms or protocols to ensure that the data hygiene is sustained. So in almost all of these environments where the sales leader is running the CRM, the data is garbage. And it's not, I'm not disparaging sales leaders. This isn't their job to know how to build in all these mechanisms and protocols to ensure data hygiene. It requires people that think about that stuff all of the time, which are really data operations people. But finally, the sales and marketing leaders are also not really trained generally as business analysts. So even if the underlying data was good in the tech stacks they set up, the sales and marketing leaders rarely have the time and rarely actually have the skills to study the data in order to interpret actionable insight from it. So I'd say in essence, when sales and marketing leaders implement and maintain the tech stack, it often becomes an inhibitor to efficient operations, and the tech stack never becomes the strategic data asset that it can and should be.
Sure. I mean, those are all significant, right? And if you're having a sales and marketing team that let them focus on the things that they're good at, right? Instead of jumping in and having to deal with all of the administration and analysis of the mounds of data that you're collecting as a growing company. So that definitely makes sense. And I think if you're looking for guidance on when to invest in RevOps, I would encourage you to check out our complimentary assessment. It's scaleMatters.com/assessment. If you do that and you're again, thinking about, is it too early to invest in RevOps, or is this a time because I'm facing these kind of challenges? Definitely check out that assessment, fill out the form, and we'll get back to you on that. Until next time, thanks, Scott, for all this insight, and we'll see you next time in the data room.
Thanks, Heather.